Synapse Films has released a brand new edition, new transfer of the Spanish horror classic from 1971, Amando de Ossorio's Tombs of the Blind Dead. This was the first in the series of, I want to say four, three or four, four? Let's say four. Let's agree that it's four. And if I'm wrong, it was three. Or five, as far as I know. I've seen them all. I just don't recall. The Blind Dead series was a series about these undead zombie, basically Templar knights. These sort of devil worshipping, sacrificing, if not devil worshipping, dark force worshipping knights Templar who many years ago sacrificed people and did nefarious things in Spain. And then when somebody does something right or wrong, they rise from the dead as these like husks, basically these zombie husks, clad in their armor and their capes and their hats with their swords, riding, ghost horses, basically. And these are really creepy movies. These have been released multiple times on video here. They were released on videotape. They were released, Anchor Bay had a set or two. I think Anchor Bay put them out on videotape and then they put them out on DVD. I know Blue Underground, I believe, had a set on Blu-ray. And now Synapse has the license to the Blind Dead films. I'm presuming this is a brand new transfer. Knowing Synapse, they don't do anything halfway. They don't just pick up somebody else's transfer. They do excellent work. This movie looks so good. I've never seen it look this good. Admittedly, I did not see the Blue Underground version of this, but this movie, The Tombs of the Blind Dead, it's presented here in two versions, which I'll get to in a second, looks fantastic. All the detail is there. It's one of those things where I say it doesn't look like an old movie. Like they peel back the layers, the decades of whatever it is that film transfers makes films look old. And yes, it looks like an old movie because it's early 70s fashions and all that, but skin tones are excellent, detail is excellent, there's a wide myriad of contrast to it, and it just looks phenomenal while people are getting murdered by zombie Knights Templar. So what do we got here? It's 2-disc set. I'll show you the package in a second. Disc 1, we have the Spanish cut, the original version of the film. It's in mono, Spanish mono, and there's also a way to listen to it as an English-Spanish hybrid, where everything that was dubbed into English is in English in any of the sections, which is kind of a neat way to see in one viewing sort of sometimes the differences between two different cuts, is that if you watch it in the hybrid version, anytime you see subtitles, you're like, okay, that was cut out of the English version for some reason. So the story here it's 101 minutes, by the way, the Spanish version. The film goes a little something like this. And I see in my notes there were 4 films. I corrected myself. So a trio of like 20-somethings goes on a train ride, and they get into an argument, and one lady hops off the train and decides, like, screw you guys, I'm taking a hike, I'm finding my own way. And while my way might be finding this abandoned castle that I think I'll just camp out in overnight. That leads to, one thing leads to another. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. One thing leads to another, and the blind dead rise, and they seize upon this woman. Certainly this film is inspired by Night of the Living Dead. And it's just creepy. It's a mix of like puppet skeletal hands and these guys in costumes and these like just skeletons that are being, manipulated, but they're like super dark gray, ashy looking. Just, it's creepy. And eventually we get a flashback to see who these knights were and why they are the way they are and all this other stuff. But it starts off not really telling you anything other than this woman's being besieged by creepy people who want to tear her up, basically. Great 70s fashions in this film. Great sense of atmosphere. It's a good one to watch on a quiet night. It's just, they're good creepers, as I like to say. Amazing locations and just a wonderful vibe. The extras on disc 1 are as follows. You get a commentary by Troy Howarth, who's always great. You get a commentary by the star of the movie, the female lead in this film. The woman you see screaming at the beginning and the end of the movie is still around and did a full commentary where she talked all about her career, how she came to make the film, the making of the film, with great power of recall for specific moments. And that's fascinating. I was kind of shocked that, like, what, they have one of the stars of the movie in this? You get a commentary, 3 commentaries. A commentary by Rod Barnett and Troy Gwynn of the NashiCast podcast, which is really good. Sometimes I go either way when it's a podcast people doing a commentary, because sometimes it just breaks down to, yeah, this is great, or they make fun of it. These people know their stuff and they know their Spanish horror, so they really dig in with a lot more information. It seems that these are newish. I didn't look this up. There are, maybe this sell sheet will say, no, it doesn't. It seems that these are newish commentaries, because I think they reference each other, so they all knew that the other one was being done, and I think they kind of took care to try to not repeat a lot of content between the three. Either that or just coincidentally they didn't, which is great. There's nothing quite like the drag of watching supplements on a disc and you listen to a commentary and get all this information, or you watch a feature-length making of and get all this information, and then you watch or listen to the other thing and it's half the same stuff again. The Awakening, I'm saving the best for last on this. The Awakening of Spanish Horror Cinema is an intro by Professor Marcus Steiger. I probably mispronounced that. It's in German. That's 14 minutes. That's pretty fun. You get a music video from a band called Salem's Pop with a song called Templar's Tears, and it's 3 minutes, and it just uses footage from the film. You get an 89-minute making of that is extensive and really good, and interviews with as many of the players as possible, including, this is fantastic, Helga Linné, who's not in the film, and Jack Taylor. Now, if you've seen enough Spanish horror, you know the names of Helga Linné and Jack Taylor, and it's so great to see them in recent times. I don't know when this was shot, and just talking with candor and humor about their time making these movies. That was worth the price of admission alone. But that's 89 minutes, so that's a feature length. That's almost as long as the U.S. cut of the movie, if not longer. Talking all about Spanish horror, talking about Night of the Living Dead, they talk about John Russo. It really is, what were the elements that came together that led to Tombs of the Blind Dead and the Blind Dead series. It's excellent. It's one of those special features that if this existed, or if it will, separate from this release, it's totally worth watching because it lays down a great foundation of knowledge about this genre and this period of time and the movie itself. You get the original trailer that's 3 minutes, and you get a still gallery that's 3 minutes, and that plays over music from the film. Okay, one of the greatest bits of exploitation and cinematic carny hucksterism that I've ever heard of is this. When Tombs of the Blind Dead was released in America, it was released as, I believe, just The Blind Dead. That's cool. Then later, some distributor picked this film up and decided to try to cash in on the Planet of the Apes series, early to mid-70s, early-ish 70s, and try to turn this movie into a Planet of the Apes ripoff. In its marketing, probably in its trailers, in its newspaper ads, and if you remember, a lot of the times back then, the way people went to the movies was either if they didn't see a TV spot or a trailer in the theater or a poster at their theater, they looked in the newspaper and it was just text listings. Here's what's at your theater. And in this case, probably here's what's at your drive-in. This was probably second or third on the bill, and it's underhanded and devious, but I greatly respect it with a lot of humor. The old switcheroo. They retitled this film Revenge from Planet Ape. And what we have here on this Blu-ray is an extra, and it was on some of the previous Blu-ray or DVD extras too. The only difference in the movie is that you get this opening crawl with a voiceover. It's like a still frame from the beginning of the film, or still frame of one of the Templars. I don't quite remember. But there's a text crawl and a narrator saying, long ago, this Earth was ruled by apes, or this planet was ruled by apes, and they all died off in a great battle, and human beings survived and evolved to run society. But in the story in this film is that sometimes people can disturb the graves of these ancient, intelligent apes, and they will rise from the dead to get revenge on humanity in Revenge from Planet Ape. And then there's like a harsh cut with a butcher with a meat cleaver, and then Tombs of the Blind Dead plays as is. Or the American cut of this, where apes are never referenced in the movie, apes are never talked about again in the movie, as far as I know. You just get this intro. I love that this is on here. I love that this piece of history has been preserved, courtesy of Harry Guerro and Exhumed Films, actually. They have a print of this. We at the Mahoning Drive-In where I work, we did a Planet of the Apes weekend that I sadly missed years ago, and they played all the Planet of the Apes movies, and as a special extra film, they played Tombs of the Blind Dead in the Revenge from Planet Ape version, and I'm so sad I wasn't there to see it. I'm so sad I wasn't allowed to go to a theater to watch people sit and watch that and slowly realize they're not getting a Planet of the Apes movie. Anyway, that's disc 1. Disc 2, much simpler. I'm almost done yapping here. Disc 2 is the U.S. theatrical cut, The Blind Dead, with the U.S. titles and all that. And that's 83 minutes. And that's all that's on Disc 2. There's no extras on Disc 2. So if you want to see what this looks like, you get the Synapse black case, and the black case threw me. When I got this, I was presuming that it was a 4K, because a lot of times the 4Ks will have a black case, but it is a special 2-disc Blu-ray edition, Tombs of the Blind Dead, really cool vintage art on the front. You go to the back, you get your blurbs about what's on there, all your contents. It is a region A, B, and C, so it's an all-region Blu-ray, so as I always like to say, anywhere in the world within the sound of my voice, you pick this up, you order this, whether you're in Bolivia or Botswana, you throw it in your Blu-ray player, it'll play just fine. It is 1/6 widescreen and all that fun. You open her up, and you've got, again, original disc art there. You've got a nice Synapse Films catalog, thick catalog that says all their releases, and you've got your Tombs of the Blind Dead over here with that original artwork. I love the original art. And if it's not original art, it's new art that's really cool and looks original. So now available on Blu-ray from Synapse. I really hope Synapse plans to do the entire series of Blind Dead films, because I want them all looking this good. Tombs of the Blind Dead.